This is the tech enthusiast's
super delayed
thoughts on the brand new flagship Samsung Galaxy line, the S21 series. For a not so enthusiastic person who wants to buy tech. Full disclosure, this is not a review, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't watch this. This is a consolidation of all of my thoughts on this product, based on reviews that I have watched,
linked in the description.
and the specs of the phone. On second thoughts, I should have just waited and made a phone on the upcoming OnePlus 9 series. Okay, so design. The S21, I love it. It's one of the best designs I've seen in recent years. The camera bump is amazing. Never thought I would say that about a Samsung phone after the Note 20 series. I'm not a fan of the punch hole camera in the center though. If you use a punch hole camera, don't put it in the center, please. The design of the S21 Ultra is not as good as the design of the S21, but it's not bad. I don't think the boxy shape works well with the contours connecting the edge rails to the camera bump, and the opinion on the punch hole camera still holds. So the display. The S21s have 6.2 inch and 6.7 inch respectively, 1080 by 2400 1080p AMOLED displays, with a peak brightness of 1300 nits, giving them an HDR10 Plus certification with variable refresh rate from 48Hz to 120Hz. 1080p is not at all noticeable to my eyes, especially at this screen size, where the pixels are still really small. I would rather have a 1080p 120Hz rather than a 4K 60Hz display on a phone.
Apple, please take notes.
I've used the OnePlus 7T extensively, and that has a 1080p display, and I cannot see individual pixels at all until my nose is legit touching the screen. I've also used an iPad Pro 11-inch with a display almost double the size of the S21, and that has a 1440p equivalent display. I can barely see the pixels on that too, even when my eyes are basically touching the screen. It's a brilliant display spec-wise. The Ultra has a 6.8-inch 1440 by 3200 1440p display, similar to the S21. Peak brightness is increased to 1500 nits and variable refresh rate throttles down to 10 Hz, and it still rises till 120 Hz. The slight increments make a lot of sense for an Ultra phone, and I can respect that. Performance. The North American versions have the brand new 5nm Snapdragon 888. The EU and Southeast Asia have the brand new 5nm Exynos 2100. In my opinion, Exynos is not back. It's not a deal breaker for buying this phone, as it probably was for the S20 series. But if you live in North America, the S21 series is a lot better value compared to if you are in the EU or Southeast Asia. Mr. Who's the Boss made a really great video on this, and you should check it out before buying these phones if you live in the Exynos. Long story short, performance is not as good as Snapdragon, but I doubt you'd notice. Cameras. The S21s have a 12MP f1.8 wide with OIS, 64MP f2.0 telephoto with OIS, and 12MP f2.2 ultrawide. The Ultra has a 108MP f1.8 wide with OIS and laser autofocus, a 10MP 10x optical periscope telephoto with OIS, a 10MP f2.2 3x optical zoom, and a 12MP f2.2 ultrawide, which also doubles as the macro. It also has the ability to space zoom up to 100x. The cameras shoot video at 8K 24fps, up to 4K 60fps, up to 1080p 240fps in slow-mo mode, and 720p 960fps in slow-mo mode. They can shoot 12-bit RAW photos and HDR10 Plus videos, which you probably won't use. In case it wasn't already obvious, I don't have my hands on these phones, and I'm giving you my thoughts based on photos I've seen on reviews with people who have the phone. This is not a review, it is a consolidation of my thoughts based on the reviews that I have watched. For a more detailed camera test, check out MKBHD's video on the S21 and the S21 Ultra. From sample photos, the cameras seem like a really technically good lineup. The photos seem pretty punchy and contrasty, and dynamic range looks good. The look is not really to my taste though. I seem to like the iPhone and Pixel photos more. Battery. The S21 has a 4000 mAh battery, the Plus model has a 4800 mAh battery, and the Ultra has a 5000 mAh battery. All of them support wired fast charging up to 25 watts, wireless Qi charging up to 15 watts, and reverse wireless charging at up to 4.5 watts. Samsung has never really been at the top of the charging game, and this doesn't change that, especially after removing the charger. Speaking of removing charger from the box, I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't think I need another charger whenever I get a new phone, but I can understand the outreach from the community. Kind of. Some other features: all three use USB-C, run ONEUI 3.1 based on Android 11. All three are 5G ultra wideband compatible, have ultrasonic under-display fingerprint sensors, have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.0 support, and stereo speakers. They have non-expandable storage up to 256 gigs in the S21s and or 512 gigs in the Ultras. They have RAM up to 16 GB in the Ultra and 8 GB in the S21. All three are IP68 water and dust resistant, up to 1.5 meter depth for 30 minutes. While the S21 has a plastic back, the Plus and Ultra models have a glass back. Software. OneUI is not my favorite Android, but Samsung's skin is a lot better than it used to be. In spite of my limited exposure, the feature set is pretty good and it doesn't look terrible, even though I would take Oxygen OS stock Android over it. At the flagship price, I think software dictates what phone you would like to get. Every phone in this price bracket is really good, and I'm certain whatever phone you purchase, you will be pleased with it. The feature sets among all these phones are pretty much more or less the same. I believe the decision lands on which OS you like. If you like stock, Pixel is ahead. If you like Oxygen OS, OnePlus has the upper hand. If you like iOS, you would like the iPhones better. Even support is an important part of it. iPhones get major updates, sometimes for up
to 6 years.
Pixels usually get 3. Samsung supports their newer flagships for 3, while Xiaomi, Asus and other companies in this price bracket, forgive me if I'm missing something, doesn't offer much support. I think this is the most important quote-unquote spec in a phone, how long the phone would get software updates, and which software you like the most. It's all based on personal preference. Conclusion. At Rs 69,999, $799, £819 and 849 euros, the S21 seems like a steal considering its feature set. It is one of the easiest recommendable phones to anyone looking for a Samsung. It builds on the already amazing S20 FE, providing amazing bang for the buck. The S21, in my opinion, at $81,999, $999, £999 or 999 euros doesn't provide the same value as the S21. I don't think this price increase justifies the incremental updates that come with a bigger phone. The S21 Ultra is for the people who want the best of the best. If you are one of those willing to pay anything for it, at $1,05,999 $1199 or £1199 or 1249 euros, let's hope you have a big enough budget to get this great phone. Before you buy this phone though, make sure you go to a store and try it out. You may hate it, you may love it. Do this not just for Samsungs but for any phone you intend on buying. This lineup shows how Samsung is kind of turning into the iPhone of the Android flagship market. For most things, they're going with an if it ain't broke, don't fix it attitude. These phones have a sort of maturity about them, with refined and clean user experiences. Of course, they still have a lot of experimental and gimmicky features unlike the iPhones, but overall I believe they are making the most iPhone-like Android devices in the flagship space, whether that's a good or bad thing. Would this convert you into a Samsung user? I find it unlikely, but it does a really good job of being a Samsung. If you are a Samsung user looking to upgrade, be sure to keep this line of Samsung flagship phones in your list. You may just love them.